The As News Broke, that one?
Oh, yeah. This is the one from Stuttering John?
Yeah.
So this is, we're going back to last week, right after this show. David Collins, are you aware that President Joe Biden dropped out of the race in 2024?
Right. I'm surprised he hasn't resigned. I guess that's going to be the next week's conversation. But anyway, I'm getting ahead. I was not aware that this man goes by the Duke now.
Stuttering John goes by the Duke, yes. He's the
Okay.
Duke of the Dabbleverse. You weren't aware of that?
I've heard him say that. I thought he was referencing somebody. I thought he was overdoing somebody else's joke at him. I didn't know it was in all seriousness.
Well, David, nobody crosses the Duke, and I thought everybody knew that, but apparently not, is what you're showing. And that's unfortunate.
I've been in line behind him for the longest time.
But, yeah, so this is on their show. News is breaking around the country. Everyone knows by the time they're talking about this, everyone except these three men on the screen know that Joe Biden not running for president. It will likely be Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. Everyone's talking about this except for these guys who are doing a political show. And this is Richard Ojeda on the Stuttering John podcast.
I think that Joe Biden is not going to step down, and I don't think he should. I think
he already has.
I think he's doing fine. I think that he's picking up momentum. If you listen to his first 100 days of the second presidency, of the things he wants to accomplish, it's amazing. You know, and here's the thing, too. Look, I don't give a shit about the age thing, because age, if you want to talk age, Grassley's fucking daggone 91 years old. But
my mom's 87 and she's fucking...
Yeah, you're right.
What a great contribution, John. So Richard... Here's the you know what? I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. Don't tell him I said this. I think Richard's a little wacky. I think he's a little nutty.
Yeah.
But here's the difference in political acumen. Like, if you want to say Richard is down here in political consistency and respectability, dignity that he has. If you want to say Richard's down here, Stuttering John is down in my basement because he doesn't know what like Richard brings up a name of another political figure. Like, this person's 91 years old and they still hold office. And John interjects with, my mother's 87.
That's great, John. Name more senior citizens.
John, your mother's retired and brings Red Bull to an old drunk who's barking orders at her while yelling at super chatters. Your mother is not running the country. That's a little, you might as well have said Craig's got food poisoning today. That would be just as relevant to the conversation they're having.
I love someone that takes any political commentary so personally that, Biden's pretty old. What, are you insulting my mother?
Yeah, exactly. What'd you say about my mother?
This is hours later, by the way.
Okay, so later, this is just a few hours later on Ojeda Live. And you heard him a second ago, like, guys, you rubes, Biden's not going to step down, and he's the guy we need. He's the only one. Is he fit to run the country? How about he's the only one fit to do it?
4 more weeks. 4 more weeks.
Right. And then, he got the news when he got off of John's show, and he thought, well, how do I frame this?
We got to wake a lot of people up. Folks, let me tell you something. Republicans, you messed up. You really messed up. Because, folks, let me tell you something. Everybody right now is all up in arms and they're worried about what's going on. Let me tell you something. I was more than willing to stand with Joe Biden. I believe that Joe Biden could beat Donald Trump. But now I know that we have a great path for the presidency. We got a path to win the House, to win to increase
finally
the Senate, because voting blue is what we need to do. And I'm going to tell you, folks, Kamala Harris is ready. We are ready.
Finally. Now, listen, did I think Biden could beat Trump? Of course, as we all did. This guy he's cogent, he's coherent, he's fantastic. Did we think Biden could win? Of course. But now that dead weight is out of the way, we can finally let the woman run who should have been running the whole time. Now, never once did I hear Richard Ojeda say, maybe Biden should get out of the way because I think this Kamala Harris would be really good.
Right. It's a Kamalamanon.
That's well said, David.
All
it's so interesting to watch their brains shift. And, the right does this too, whatever. Like all people that are this extreme do this shit where they get their brain twisted up and they're like, well, how do I make this fit my narrative?
This woman got 0 delegates in 2020. 0.
They have somehow in the last 5 years ended up with the least popular person.
Yes, less popular than my guy Andrew Yang. People thought Andrew Yang was nuts, and still we're like, you know what? We like him better than Kamala. She just seems unlikable. And now you're hearing these people who have been left with no other choice be like, oh, did we luck into the best possible option?
I was hoping Dean Phillips would have been given more of a chance.
Dude, she was sending out links to like the bail funds and shit, and they're bringing them up, and they're like, she never did that, and the tweets are still up. Like, they're not even good at hiding it at this point.
It's so funny to watch people twist themselves into a pretzel.
You know, all those little girls out there, this is the moment that we show them that they too can grow up and one day be the president of the United States. What's wrong with that?
You tell them.
I had in the ring a couple years ago to run for president. I just wanted to make it to the debates because I wanted to rip some people's ass.
Wow.
Hold on 1 second. Go back a little bit. And now I'm going to hear. Listen to the vim and vigor in Richard's voice. He's all fired up. I wanted to rip these guys a new asshole. Now listen to the deflation that comes right after when he talks about his presidential run.
Be the president of the United States. What's wrong with that? You know, I threw my hat in the ring a couple years ago to run for president. I just wanted to make it to the debates because I wanted to rip some people a new ass. But you know what I thought when I threw my hat in the ring? I thought to myself, you know, I'm from West Virginia. And I remember growing up in school where they told us that you can be president if you do the right things, stay out of trouble, work hard, you can one day become the president. Nice. Make sure you tell the truth. You can be president.
What?
And that's when I thought to myself, why not? Why not me throw my hat in the ring?
Hell yeah.
Because I should be able to do that too. Now, once again, I dropped out 2 months later. You know, shit over it. But at the end of the day, you know, I just wanted to make it to the daggone debates.
He didn't. I love Richard, but it's not an inspirational tale to be like, I was a little kid and I was growing up in West Virginia and they taught us even some country bumpkin like you can one day grow up to be president. So you know what I did? I threw my hat in the ring, and by God, 2 months later, I was completely out of it. And I didn't accomplish my one goal of getting in the debates.
I cannot wait to see him wear a white guys for Kamala hat.
Can we, Richard, enough dilly-dallying. You should be running for president. Like, enough bullshit. Let's get Richard in the ring, because he shouldn't have given up on that goal. I want Richard on a debate stage. Can you imagine Trump versus Richard?
That would be incredible.
I really think it would, unless we get like mild-mannered Richard. If he feels like if he's running, he can't be as animated as he usually is. But if Richard talks about Donald Trump shitting his diapers and threatening to curb stomp him and ask him to go out on the street to fight him, like, that would be, I think, exactly what this nation needs to finally heal.
What did Trump call him that set him off?
A wacko.
That's all Trump's got to say, and like the whole debate decorum goes out the window.
Right.
Remember, David, are you aware of this? Did you know Richard Ojeda was a Trump voter?
I didn't know that they interacted in any way.
So Ojeda voted for Trump in 2016.
Wow.
And then, which you would not expect by listening to him. But then Trump lost Richard's vote when, I don't know why it came up. Richard was a state senator in West Virginia. I don't know how he got on Trump's radar, but someone asked Donald Trump about Richard, and Donald Trump called him a wacko. And Richard had a sworn enemy from that day forward. That's what I love about Richard.
Well, it's good that it's so personal. You'd hate to hear that it's, you know, he's in one of these other politically involved people. You know, it makes it's straight to home with him.
Yeah, no, you'd hate to think he was like genuine about all his beliefs. It's good. It's good that it's totally because Trump said something kind of mean once.
I don't want to get too controversial, but I thought of it great. Maybe you guys could do this as merch or something. I'm sure these would sell well. I got a great idea. A hat that says, I'm with Zer.
You think we should sell that?
Yeah, or whoever gets to it first.
All right, maybe that's a hack ride idea. I could see that on hackridethedemon.com. I'm with Zer.
Bring it.
Craig not reacting to it at all. Craig doesn't seem to like it.
Well, he's writing it down, I hope.
Oh,
I was
good.
making notes.
Yeah, good.
We got Ojeda about to flip out about voting for women right now.
This is Norm Macdonald had cancer for a decade and did it with more decorum and poise than Craig is displaying with a bellyache right now. This is brutal to watch.
Well, I'm sure Norm had his bad days.
He probably did. I can't get away from the toilet. It's terrible.
We can rally behind Kamala Harris against the man that does nothing but spew hatred, against the man that is trying to bring Project 2025 to light. That
He
will
says it as he's foaming at the mouth, by
our
the way.
democracy. It will kill our country. It will take women back 70 friggin' years.
Okay, hold on, Craig. This is where I'm going to need you.
2025
Take
will
some
send
pause
every
real quick.
single woman
Oh,
back to
whoa, Richard, we're losing control here.
Wow.
Craig, I'm going to need you here. Take your Pepto-Bismol or whatever you got to do. You're a political guy. Are you aware of these charges that Richard is making?
I'm never aware of anything that comes out of his mouth.
Let's hear this again. Back it up a little, because you know what Project 2025 is, right?
I know of it, and I'm still I know more about the memes.
It's basically, so I know very little, but my understanding of it, it's basically Trump and the Republicans' plan for if they take office, if they win in November, their plan for 2025 will be to reform the nation in the following ways. And Richard's about to give us some. Now, I don't know. I asked the Warthog, he's my political guy. He doesn't seem to know what Richard's talking about here. But any of you in the chat, if you're aware of this, if you're more politically minded than us, please let us know, because Richard is making some heavy claims here about what the Republicans plan on doing in January.
Project 2025 to light that will absolutely destroy our democracy. It will kill our country. It will take women back 70 friggin' years. Because Project 2025 will send every single woman back to 1950. You will be barefoot, pregnant, and in the damn kitchen.
Barefoot?
That's what they want.
So they're going to take their shoes down.
Well, that's the biggest thing. You know, I was actually muted earlier when you brought it up. I muted myself, and I was just talking to myself, and I said, "Why? What's going on here?" But the Heritage Foundation wrote this 600-page document, or whatever the case is, and it's called Project 2025. And nobody's committed to any of the things in there, but there are some pretty standard down the line conservative pieces in there. I think pieces having to do with abortion and pieces, but there's also actually some legislation suggestions in there more in the foreign department that would be I'm not very politically minded either. That's actually a little more left leaning. So if you read the whole thing, it's kind of interesting, but none of these things are really committed to by any candidate regardless. So it's interesting that even you would be brought up.
You seem to know a lot more about this than I do, because I thought there were at least Republicans tied to it in some way, or Trump.
Well, they are. It's the Heritage Foundation.
Okay,
it's a lobbying group in
Trump
DC.
himself has not said this is my plan or anything.
No, but they're probably funding a portion of his campaign. Just like any lobbying group. This is this is the report of what we would want, if ideally.
And in there, and I understand you can't necessarily 100% confirm this. Does it say we're going to take shoes away from women?
Right? No, not at all. And I listened to a 40-minute discussion about this, and nothing about the shoes.
That's
It's barefoot in the kitchen. Maybe it just got cleaned or something. But I don't want to hear any of these people talk about democracy getting taken away while this woman's getting appointed with a no vote. I want to hear none of that.
There also may be some conflation there, because I think there's something going around at J.D. Vance had some former statement about women not being allowed to vote. And I think some people have also conflated that to say, is Project 2025 women not being allowed to vote? No, I think that's something J.D. Vance had once said.
We're going to get there, David. Don't you worry. We're about to get there.
It might be a better country if that was the case.
But we're about to get there.
This country, that's a fact.
Maybe at a comedy competition. Don't get me started.
The population, men control 49% of the population. We can rally behind a woman, and we can finally put a woman in the daggone White House. And I guarantee you, she will absolutely be a phenomenal phenomenal president because she knows what Joe Biden's first 100 days is. And I guarantee you she will follow through with that. And it will be phenomenal for us.
This is the same candidate. So that's what Richard's hoping for, is just that, hey guys, if you were going to vote for Biden, no difference, samesies, don't worry about it.
The most popular president ever to the least popular candidate ever, with no choice. That's bullshit.
Either move forward and protect your wives, your daughters, your nieces. You can put them on a path where they're going to be better, they're going to be taken care of, or you can go backwards. And you can literally make them literally barefoot, pregnant, and in a daggone kitchen.
Literally, again, would imply that women are going to be taken out of the workforce.
I mean, he's picking things that happen all the time. He could have been like, they'll be literally like beat to death in the woods or something. But he's like, they're going to be cooking dinner for you.
Yeah, I don't. So is he saying that, like, if Trump wins? Now, it's also important to keep in mind, again, I'm not political. This is not me buzz off in the comments with the political stuff. Just look at Richard as a man here. Whereas as I recall, as a human being, Trump won in 2016 and then was president for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then left the White House. I remember, I know January 6th and all that, but like he did leave.
It was like worse than 9/11. Don't forget.
I understand how bad it was, but like he did leave, and now they're trying to get you to believe that. And I'm just remembering the fucking David Cross clips. Fuck, we're never gonna get out of here.
Oh shit!
If you don't have them, good. We'll never get to them.
No, I do have them.
I totally forgot, but they're worth doing. But we'll see. We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
But like. Trump was president already. It's kind of weird to be like, this guy's Hitler, and we're going to go back to the 50s, and women are going to have their jobs taken away and their shoes, apparently.
Well, I probably disagree with the majority of whatever that Project 2025 really says, but from Richard's description of it, it sounds like a good. Oh, really? We're gonna have families that don't need dual income, and somebody can just be home and do these things. I mean, that kind of. I don't want to force that on anybody, but that would kind of be what we all aspire to. Is that not right?
Yeah, it's weird. They don't pick apart. What they should be doing is picking apart the actual document instead of fear mongering and saying we're going to go back to the Middle Ages.
Yeah, Ojeda's basically like, you want the American dream back? Vote for Trump.
They're going to force you to have the Constitution branded on your back.
This is when he gets into Karens, though. This is tough.
Does he know what a Karen is? I suspect not, based on this.
And every woman out there needs to be supporting Kamala Harris. If you are a Karen, think about it. Think about it. What would it do to put a woman in the Oval Office? I'm telling you, folks, that is the best thing that could happen for us right now. The Republicans have done nothing but scream about Joe Biden being incompetent. You can't say that shit about Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is now the old guy who barely can walk and chew gum at the same time. That's a fact.
Oh,
my mother's 87.
Yeah, John's mom's 87, first of all, Richard. And I thought you said there was no problem with Biden's age a minute ago. But also, does he think Karen refers to just all women? Like, oh, the lady that my waitress at dinner last night was a Karen.
That's right-leaning woman. Right-leaning women's a Karen.
The impression I got is that he was saying, hey, racist white women, forget about, just remember you're voting for a woman.
I guess, but a Karen is a very specific thing that he's like, hey, you Karens, vote for Kamala. It's a weird thing to bring up there, I feel like.
We need a president that will ask for a manager.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, they want to take you back to the 50s. They want to talk. They're talking about challenging the 19th Amendment. That's what gave you the right to vote. Folks, let me tell you something.
This is just comical when the putting Kamala up without a vote. Like, all this shit is just a double standard.
Well, hold on. So, I know that's not been mentioned, taking away women's right to vote. I don't think has been mentioned. But he mentions one that I don't even understand where he's coming from with this. David, you seem to know more about this Project 2025 than I do. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you at all.
People that are in interracial relationships. And it's not just white and black. It's interracial relationships, just like J.D. Vance's, where his wife is Hindu and he's white.
Hold on, Richard. Doesn't that tell you they're probably not going to outlaw it?
He has a problem with Middle Eastern people, from what I gather in the chat all the time.
Richard, wouldn't it suggest if the vice president is married to a person of a different race, wouldn't it suggest that they're not trying to outlaw? Like, where the fuck did that come from? They're outlawing interracial marriages?
It's a nightmare.
Where his wife is Hindu and he's white. But make no mistake about it, they're literally wanting to outlaw that shit and then place it on the states to decide whether or not you think a black man should be allowed to be married to a white woman or vice versa.
Well, I got to agree with Richard. If that was being brought to a state legislator, that would certainly be big news. I'm not sure how that's gonna get there, but
I would think so. I would think so. This is all very like Richard. You lose credibility. No one's going to believe this is what happened. This is why CNN and MSNBC and these news outlets lost credibility. Is because for 4 years they were like, "This guy's Hitler," and no one's. Well, some people maybe have learned from their mistakes, but Richard certainly hasn't. Where he's like, "Guys, women can't vote." And you can't marry an Indian lady. Who's suggesting that? If the vice presidential candidate is in an interracial marriage, why would you think they're trying to outlaw it? What does that even mean, Richard? What are you talking about?
Hackright says, Craig, she's VP. There was, quote, some democracy that put her in there. Get over it, Craigers. I'm like, well, if Biden died or stepped down today and she became president, that is different.
Hey,
that's not what happened.
Hold on. Sorry, David, 1 second. Since Hackride is in the chat, I have a question for him, and he can respond. If we do a doubleheader today, is he around? Because this is, I can tell Craig is sick, obviously. We have like another, at least 2 hours worth of content.
At minimum.
So if Hackride is around for more, maybe we'll take a break and come back in the afternoon. But Hackride, if you're around for a second show today, let us know in the comments. Sorry, David, what were you going to say?
Good question. Well, Kamala, it's so funny. I was actually listening to I saw an old, it was a memory, and I read it, and it said it was a chart from the old 2019 debates of the Democratic primary, and it was the first one. And before we knew anything about all these people, it was a chart of the talk time. And the most time, about triple most of the other people, was Joe Biden, and about double most of the other people, Kamala Harris. So they had kind of decided already by the first primary debate in 2019 exactly what they wanted the next 6 years to look like.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like a little bit. I don't know if this analogy is going to track necessarily, but it's like if we were trying to get you guys in the chat to agree with us on Crystal. Like, some of the points we make are the same. Sometimes we like goofing on them for a lot of the same stuff. But it's like if every week we were trying to change your mind on Crystalia. Like, you already agree with us, more or less. That's why you're watching it. Richard, every week, is talking to people who agree with him, yet is pleading with them to change their mind and vote with him.
And we bring him here to give him a good chance.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't changed Craig's mind yet, which I'm surprised by. But
Hackwright says he's around, but I have to support Kamala Harris publicly.
Will you do it?
I mean, I already said women shouldn't vote like 20 minutes ago. So.
Just say it. Just say it publicly. Say Kamala Harris should be president. So
Kamala Harris should be president.
I'm sorry, I stepped over you.
There's a great comedian in the area here that does a great joke about, we shouldn't even let them read. That handles the whole voting thing.
Sounds like a funny guy.
He's a very funny guy. The Wizard.
This is the last Richard clip.
Okay.
He doesn't know who a Karen is.
It's vexing to me. Like, I guess he's pleading for the Karen vote, but I don't think he quite grasps what a Karen is.
And all of you Karens out there, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to not vote for Donald Trump, but your opportunity to finally put a woman in the White House. Let's see what Kamala can do.
Why do people give a fuck about that shit so much?
Why does he specifically care about Karens?
You know what I wasn't worried about? If Hillary Clinton, thank God, won, I wouldn't have worried about her going into Putin's office and talking to him because she'd probably kill him while she's in there. You know what I mean? But Kamala's
guess.
just going to go in and laugh like a fucking goof, and everyone's just going to take everything from us, is what's going to happen.
The universal language, laughter.
That's right, David. Yeah, so I don't think he quite knows what a either. I guess he thinks a Karen is a racist Trump voter. But then why? So you're begging racists to vote on your team like that? You want racists to align with you politically? Is that what he's begging for?
It
It's
seems
a strange plea, is my point.